Hey there, and welcome to episode 77 of Your Fun and Profitable Online Business. This is the podcast that helps you build a business that feels as good as it looks. I'm Wendy, and I help women entrepreneurs create fun and profitable businesses by reducing friction, simplifying the way they work, and making business decisions with confidence. Now, let me start by asking you something. I want you to imagine you're driving down the road and suddenly your car starts making a strange noise. Would your first reaction be to replace the entire engine? Maybe, but probably not. You'd likely do what most of us do. You'd start by paying attention. When does it happen? Is it only when you're turning? Only when you're braking? Or does it happen at high speeds? You'd observe first, because you know that if you skip straight to the fixing part, there's a good chance you'll solve the wrong problem. And yet, that's exactly what so many of us do in our businesses. Instead of observing what's actually happening, we jump straight to conclusions. We decide we need a new offer, a better funnel, a new website, another certification, or maybe even a whole new strategy. And maybe we do, but maybe we don't. Over the next several weeks, we're going to go over one of the most valuable skills you can develop as a business owner: observation. Then we'll talk about how to ask better questions and how to make decisions based on evidence instead of guesses. All right, let's get started. I think one of the biggest reasons entrepreneurs stay stuck isn't because they don't know enough. I think it's really because they're trying to solve problems they don't actually have. Now, our brains love certainty. When something feels uncomfortable, we want an answer immediately. It often sounds like, why didn't anyone buy? Clearly, something is wrong with my offer. Or, why haven't I posted all week? I just am not disciplined enough. Or even, my launch didn't go as planned. I guess people just don't want what I have to sell. But the problem is, these aren't observations. They're all conclusions. And conclusions made without evidence can send us down some very expensive rabbit holes. Maybe we buy another course, or rewrite our entire website, or change our prices, or create a brand new offer, or we start over again. Now, the problem is the real issue may be something much smaller, or something completely different. Now, imagine two business owners who launch the exact same offer. Both of them make 2 sales. But the first business owner immediately says, well, nobody wants this. There's no reason for me to do it. But the second one says, that's interesting. 2 people bought. 30 people clicked. Several people replied to my email. Almost nobody opened email number 2. I wonder what's going on. They both have the exact same results, but a completely different response. One makes assumptions, the other gathers evidence. Now, I want you to guess which business owner is going to improve the fastest. I'm putting my money on number 2. Because observation creates better decisions, and better decisions creates better businesses. This is especially important right now because we're about halfway through the year. And this is usually the time people start asking themselves how they're going to be able to hit their goals. If they stay there in that place of observation, they can find a way to reach their goals. But I think there's even a better question here. What has my business been trying to teach me this year? Because your business is constantly leaving you clues. The question is, are you paying attention? So how do you become a better observer? I think we can learn from some other professions first. Let's start off with a doctor. Doctors don't walk into the room, hand you medication, and hope for the best. They ask questions. What are your symptoms? How long has this been happening? The list goes on and on. Observation comes first. Diagnosis comes second, and treatment comes third. Scientists work the same way. They observe. They ask questions. They create a hypothesis. Then they run an experiment, not the other way around. And detectives? They collect evidence before naming a suspect, usually. They don't walk into the crime scene and immediately decide who it is. They look for clues. They notice patterns. On the other hand, business owners often do the exact opposite. They sentence first and ask later. So I want to give you a framework you can borrow whenever something isn't going the way you expected. Instead of jumping to, why isn't this working? I want you to ask yourself, what exactly is happening? Notice something here. This isn't judgment, it's curiosity. And curiosity is a much better business partner than criticism will ever be. Here's a distinction I think is important. Observation is neutral. Criticism is emotional. For example, I posted twice this month. That's an observation. I'm terrible at being consistent. That's a criticism. I didn't finish the project. Observation. I never follow through on anything. Criticism. These are very different conversations. One creates information, the other creates shame. And I know this for certainty. Shame rarely helps us make better business decisions. I see it again and again in my clients. What we're looking for is patterns. One observation doesn't tell us much, but patterns will start to tell us everything. One client asked for a payment plan. That's interesting. 7 clients asked for a payment plan. That's a pattern. Patterns are where your business starts revealing what it needs. Now, one of my favorite words in business is interesting. Instead of saying I failed, try saying, that's really interesting. It's interesting that I stopped posting after Tuesday. That's interesting that I procrastinate when it's time to sell. That's interesting that coaching gives me energy, but bookkeeping drains me. That's interesting that every inquiry mentioned the same problem. You see how this tiny shift creates distance? You're no longer judging yourself. You're simply observing. An observation gives you something incredibly valuable too. Data. Because you can't improve what you haven't noticed. You can't simplify what you haven't identified, and you can't remove friction you haven't seen. Sometimes we're just too busy trying to fix it to actually listen. But when you become the kind of CEO who notices instead of assumes, things start changing. Decisions become calmer. Your experiments become smarter. And you stop randomly throwing solutions at imaginary problems. Imagine building a business based on evidence instead of emotion. All right, with that, let's get to your action step this week. For the next 7 days, I want you to pretend you're not the CEO. Now, I know this is not the norm for me to say, but I want you to think that you're the detective assigned to investigate your business. Start taking notes wherever you generally take them. It could be your notes app. It could be a notebook. It could be whatever. And I want you to label them business clues. And then every time you notice something, write it down. I keep avoiding writing my new sales page. That's it. I checked my email 20 times this morning. I got really excited talking about whatever offer it is. Don't analyze it. Don't fix it. Just collect evidence. Remember, detectives don't solve mysteries by guessing. They solve them by paying attention. All right. Today we talked about how incredibly valuable it is to observe in your business. Before you change your offer, observe. Before you buy another course, observe. Before you tell yourself a story about what's wrong, just observe. The more you learn to notice these things, the easier it becomes to make decisions that actually solve the right problems. And next week, we're going to take this a step further. We're going to talk about the internal observations every entrepreneur should be paying attention to. You won't want to miss it. And if you enjoy having a space each week to think more intentionally about your business, I'd love to have you join us at our next CEO Hour. It's a free co-working session where we spend focused time working on our business instead of constantly reacting to it. It's one of my favorite hours of the week, and I'd love to see you there. You can learn more and grab your spot at wendymuzzy.com/CEO. All right, that's it for today. Until next time, happy building your fun and profitable business.